AV in your ears, that's Ambush Vid, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Hi, I'm Eric Roberts, and this is my wife,
Eliza Roberts.
and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast, the best one on the planet besides ours, of course.
Yeah, AV in your ears, that's Ambush Vid, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This is James DuMont's fourth appearance on the show. In this episode, obviously, we don't do the get to know you thing and how'd you get from where you were to where you are, because we did that years ago. But in this episode, we do focus on just a few important things. James DuMont had a recurring role in HBO's The Righteous Gemstones. He was in all 4 seasons, a total of 20 episodes over 6 years, and that show has come to its conclusion. The recently released season 4 is the final season, so James and I spent some time looking back on those 4 years. Some of the highlights, some of the super cool things he got to do, and some of the people he got to work with while participating in this show. James also made a recent change in representation after 30 plus years with the same manager. So I asked him all about why he did that and how that's working out so far, as he has just finished filming opposite Mel Gibson in an upcoming film, and he has tons of auditions coming up. He's landed a few of those things, and all of this since his recent change in representation. But mostly we talk about James DuMont's brand new film. It is called Unit 234, where he plays the driver and right-hand thug to the great Don Johnson. Unit 234 had a short theatrical run playing in 4 cities around the country and now is available everywhere on video on demand. So check that out. It's an action-adventure film. There's fight scenes and there's shooting and there's all the things, and also a wonderful story at the heart of it. I do bring up a project or two that James has been working on for some time, just kind of checking in on how those projects are going. We talk a little bit about a play that James directed at the beginning of the year, and why he decided to do it and what he gained out of that experience. And then finally, we touched just a little bit on his other project, on-camera workouts. For over 10 years and 2,500 students strong, James has been teaching actors how to work on camera. James has been doing self-tape auditions for over 15 years, which made him a natural go-to resource when COVID kicked in and turned the whole industry into self-tape auditions. Make sure you check out OnCameraWorkouts.com if you're interested in learning more about how to act in front of a camera and how to use the camera to your benefit. It's no accident that this is his 4th appearance on the show. Love this dude. You do too. And this is my 4th conversation with actor, producer, teacher, and now director, James DuMont.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome back again to Fascination Street Podcast. My good friend, James DuMont. What's up, dude?
What's going on? I'm a glutton for punishment. I may have another.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is James DuMont's, wait for it, 4th appearance on Fascination Street Podcast.
We got one more on one hand. That we're good. 4 going on to 5.
Holler, y'all. But here's the weird thing. There's a little bit of a pattern. The first time that James was on was in 2019, and then again in 2021, and then again in 2023, and then now in 2025. So we got to wait 2 years.
It's a cycle.
So weird.
So I'll see you again after this in 2027. So we'll have more to talk about.
Well, hell yeah.
I got something to talk about. I'm still here. I'm still standing better than I did before.
We're going to skip the whole get to know you thing because we did that so many years ago.
That's so 4 sessions ago.
So we're only going to talk about a few things.
Okay, great.
But first, dude, now you can say you're from Pope Town. You grew up in Pope Town, dude. Did you grow up with the Pope?
No, but I knew of the dude.
Really?
Yeah, because I grew up on the north side of Chicago, and the Archdiocese estate is right there on the north side, like overlooking Lake Michigan. And so I grew up there, and it was right there. The Archdiocese place is right there, like his house. All growing up as a kid, we knew where it was, and it had like a big old compound and stuff. And so, yeah, isn't that cool?
That's pretty dope.
Chicago, you got a Chicago Pope there. The weird thing is he has kielbases now in the in the Vatican. The Vatican's going deep dish. But he's also a Hoosier fan, so that's a whole other thing. He's a Chicago guy, but he's an Indiana Hoosier, whatever. I mean, look, he loves Gene Hackman. Who doesn't? Who didn't love Hoosiers? So I think, yeah, that's hilarious. Chicago dogs are going to be now served at the Vatican along with deep dish pizza and Ditka. And Walter Payton's going to be a saint. And Ryan Sandberg is going to be a saint. And I think it's great.
And the Saint Blues Brothers.
Yeah, the Saint Blues Brothers. Yeah, I feel it's like if he can just do a sainthood for all of it, all Chicago, that would be great. You know, like Saint Buddy Guy, I think is a way to go. Although he's from Mississippi, but he's really, Chicago has been his thing. It's a cool thing. You know, American Pope. My wife's like, she's like, it's never going to be an American Pope. I was like, I don't know. Kind of think that would be a smart thing to do right now. So there you go.
We'll see how this works out.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about things. First, I want to talk about the end of an era.
Oh, yes.
My friend. 6 years, 4 seasons,
Yep.
20 episodes, many, many tears which are falling out of your face right now. This is the final season of The Righteous Gemstones on HBO. It was a wild ride. It was a fun ride. But the most important question I have to ask you, which I did not ask you in any of the other times you were here, what's with all the dicks, bro?
We got a couple little dick stories. So let's talk dicks, shall we? Welcome to Fascination Dick Podcast. So I remember in season 1, Danny was talking about Euphoria and how Euphoria had lots of dicks. And Danny's like, I'm going to out-dick Euphoria.
So that was a goal.
That was a goal. So just know, like season 1, he's like, oh yeah, you haven't seen enough male genitalia. It's a thing in our show for sure.
Okay, so is there a dick in every episode in the first season?
I think there is. I heard that there's a drinking contest when people binge the show, that every time a penis is either talked about or seen, I think there's a drink. I think.
Oh, talked about? Oh, no, you're going to get hammered, bro.
You're going to get hammered. Or anytime like the different uses of vagina from Judy Gemstone, I think that's a drinking thing too. You know, my snail trails, you know, like it's just, you make my bird slick.
It is some of the most graphic and horrific.
I think in the writer's room, there's just a list of vagina euphemisms. And I think they just like, I think the darts, they just throw it on there. Which one we're going to use this one? First off, I have a dick double. His name is Victor Rivera.
Right.
Thank you for taking one for the team. He does have, as you've seen, a mushroom cap penis. He credited himself on IMDb as my dick double, which if I were a guy that had a mushroom penis, that'd probably not be something that I would connect myself to. However, his response when asked, why did you post up that you're my dick double on, even though you are? And he goes, because it's a recurring role, James. I don't have any recurring role credits. It's a recurring role. I was like, yes, because I said no. Because I have kids. I'm fine because I've been full frontal on Broadway for like 2.5 years. But I was like, I don't want to do that on television or film because I have kids. And people now capturing it and sending it around. So it's like, I don't want that. So I said no. But the weird thing about why it went down was when they posed it to me, it was almost like a guy trying to get a girl to take their top off for their movie. They're like, well, you know, Danny McBride is going to be doing Full Frontal too. And I go, Danny McBride, multi-million-dollar deal, HBO, is going Full Frontal. Bullshit. And it was bullshit because the casting director, one of which is beautifully and wonderfully religious. And they basically said, so you know what we did all morning? We looked at 72 captions of various penises to decide who your dick double is going to be. The cast director explained, that's how we had our breakfast that morning, James. Our day started looking at 72. People thought we were having porn in our coming through our office. But no, we have still shots of various penises that we had to pick through 72, and we picked this one. So I have a dick double. Walton Goggins has a dick double, but his dick double is at least 70. He may be older. He's a 70-year-old man that's a yoga teacher. He's in great shape, but that's his body double as a 70-year-old. Now, Tony Calvero in season 1, where he's in like the leather suit, and it's like, he says it's his because I would say it's mine even if it wasn't. You know what I mean? He says it's his. I kind of don't think so, but knowing Tony, it probably is. And then the mushroom cap was his in season 2 or season 1. I think season 1. You know, some people have breast obsession. We have a dick obsession on our thing. It kind of goes into cues into our demographic of, you know, fraternity guys that are dropping, you know, ping pong balls out of their ass into shot glasses. You know, it kind of goes along with those things. So yeah, that's the obsession. I think there's a lot of dicks this year, which is great.
Yay.
And a lot of like long shots, water skiing dick shots. And, you know, and the fun part is when we did the screening for the Academy, which I really hope that my fellow Academy members give the love to Gemstones after 4 seasons. You know, everybody talked about Barry and everybody talked about Schitt's Creek. Then the Academy went into a thing where it was like half-hour drama, but it's really a comedy called The Bear, but there's nothing really funny about it, but it's 30 minutes, so we're going to give it a comedy award. And then Baby Reindeer, it's not really a comedy because it's really dark and it's about a stalker, so like we were just ignored for like the last 4 seasons. So Danny does what I think is probably the most brilliant thing is to go, okay, Academy, I see how this game is played. I want to tell the story of Eli Gemstone. I'm going to put an Oscar-winning actor-director in it, and I'm going to do my version of what I think is a 30-minute dark comedy, and that's what the first episode of season 4 was. And he played that for the Academy, and everybody went insane. And then we showed the next episode, which is episode 2, and it's Baby Billy full frontal as, you know, Walton Goggins doing his best. And I go, okay, you did exactly what the Academy needs. You gave us just enough, because first off, you showed us that you're a filmmaker, and that even though you're not in Hollywood and you're not in New York and you're not in LA, but you've been making these shows, and we haven't really been paying attention to Eastbound and Down or Vice Principals in any way, even though the writing has been brilliant and the performances up and down the street. But then Gemstones, this entire cast is like ringers of not just amazing talent, but amazing people off camera as well. I mean, if we don't get something, if Edie Patterson doesn't get something, or Walton Goggins doesn't get something, or Bradley Cooper doesn't get an Emmy nomination for half-hour comedy, which he hasn't done as of yet, and Danny McBride doesn't get acknowledged for this show or directing, I don't know what the hell else we can do, because I thought that was as good as gold. I mean, people were pissing their pants laughing at the first episode, but really they lost their shit on the second episode. And I was in that room, but I've been in that room where they're like, oh, Cloris Leachman's so much funnier than Wanda Sykes. And I was like, no, she's not. That's the same character she's been doing for 40 years. You know,
it's not a character at this point.
It's not a character. It's the bitchy Nazi woman. It's like, we've seen that. So you never know. I'm feeling pretty hopeful, optimistic when the Emmys come out that we're going to get some acknowledgement. But yeah, these last 6 years, I try not to go on too long just because it has changed the course of my life and my son's life just being on the show. We have this incredible new manager, and it has everything to do with being on Gemstones and doing it together and coming on as a team. You know, our careers have just totally, I just booked a job first 2 weeks working with this person. I already have a job, you know, after being ignored for, you know, months. And my son's getting more opportunities in the last, you know, month than the last 6 years. So we're forever grateful for Danny McBride. First off, he chose me, just for the record, and then picking my son and flying us down and letting us do our thing, and then allowing a father and son to have this incredible experience that we want to now duplicate and start producing movies together and do TV show. We want to just do stuff together. You know, and some people are going to get it and see it, and some people are like, "Oh, no, yeah, I don't get it. I want the kid, but why do I need this guy?" You know, or "Oh, that guy, that's good. He's working. That's good. And, yeah, I got to build the script." So yeah, we were trying to figure out who's the right fit for us moving forward. But Danny giving us that experience of what it's like to be celebrating Father's Day on set together. I think I've said to you before, the 2 times I'm most happy and comfortable are being with my family and being on set, and the fact that I was getting both of those things for the last 6 years and 4 seasons is nothing short of a miracle. I just want more of it without raining on my kids. Like, you know, like, oh, my dad wants to be in it too. Yeah, okay. You know, like we're finding projects for us to work on together. And I have 2 already lined up.
Oh, kick ass. while we're on the topic of you working with your son, how amazing is it that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you can literally sit down and watch your son grow up on screen?
Yeah.
How amazing is that? Like, what?
He's a little embarrassed by it in the sense it's like because he was a kid. He was 14 when he started. He's 21 now. So if you look at somebody's life and like 0 to 7, age of reason, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, like there are these little 7-year leaps that we make. And yeah, 14 to 21 there's a lot of shit going on. Like in your body and your mind and your testosterone. There's just a lot of stuff happening at once. But yeah, I get to watch that. I mean, I have it in photographs and I have it in auditions. I think his first audition is online. I think it's on YouTube of him or Vimeo. I think it's like public. Him auditioning for Bonnie and Clyde to be like young Clyde, to be young Emil Hirsch for the miniseries. My oldest daughter, she booked a gig on it. And so then they're like, hey, let's read Kelton too. So it's like, hi, I'm Kelton DuMont and I'm 9 years old. And I'm like, but he was doing some short films that like the work was just really, really solid, man. And so I know he feels a little bit like I'm not that kid anymore, that kind of thing. And I looked goofy or whatever, but I know that, yeah, it's a part of who he is, And then I'm really excited about what this next phase of things are for him. What kind of career does he want to have? Does he want to have a Jason Bateman career where he's directing to and producing, or Timothée Chalamet where he's taken on these incredible iconic figures in history and doing these massive films and then doing theater? Like what kind of career does he want to have?
Absolutely.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Speaking of watching somebody grow up, a young man named Gavin Munn, previous guest of the show, he plays Kelton's little brother on the show. Now, when I interviewed Gavin Munn, he was 10 years old. And then I think last month or the month before, he turned 16 or whatever. And he's posting all these Instagram pictures of he got a car for his birthday. And I'm just like, that little bitty 10-year-old.
Who used to do like stunt jumps, like he's a motocross kid.
Yeah, he is. I reached out to Gavin and I said, hey, I'm going to have James on here, man. What should I ask him? And this is what Gavin said.
All right.
He said, feel free to mention my name as we are all close friends on set. And one memorable time I can remember is all of us going out to eat together in Charleston and getting recognized. Mainly the sushi bar with Danny McBride himself. What is it like to build a second family? You were with these people for 6 years.
Yeah. It's a pretty healthy family, to be quite honest. I mean, it's, I think, healthier than most families. I think because our patriarch, John Goodman, really, but Danny McBride, really, but between John Goodman and Danny McBride, in terms of just male leadership, but I mean, Cassidy Freeman, ridiculous, incredible person, like incredible mom, incredible artist, just a force, incredible force. And Danny knew exactly what he was doing. This is what I've been talking about mostly. When you set the tone of your thing that there is no pretense, no power games, and no talking down to anyone or cowering to anybody that's alleged network, anybody that's... When that dynamic is avoided altogether, because I see that dynamic in every single set, watching ADs talk to human beings like they're cattle and their background and they're in the sun and they're, you know what I mean? They're working out, like watching those kind of dynamic, or how somebody, oh, this is craft service. This is just for the actors. It's just for the crew. Like watching the power games that happen on set that sets a kind of very poisonous negative. When that's eliminated altogether, when the guy that's running this thing and Rough House Pictures that works a very specific way and was working with the same people for the last 20 years since they all went to UNCSA, North Carolina School for the Arts. And it's like, when you have that, I said to Kelton, I was like, every set experience is going to be all downhill from here. It's just like, you started with that. But now that you know what the best of the best is, when you get to set, you also know how to navigate yourself through there. And some of those things are just basically good family things. Like I look at going to Gemstones, and I used to begrudge it a little bit because I was like, I'm the invited guest. Because when you're the guest star on a TV show, they go, oh man, it was so great. Oh, it's great. We had a great meal. Everything was great. And they're like, now it's time for you to leave. And I go, I don't want to leave. I want to be a series regular. Just like I want to sit at this table and have this incredible meal with these people all the time. They're like, yeah, we do this all the time, but you're just visiting. So go away. You know what I mean? That was my experience up until working on Gemstones.
Right.
Because now with Gemstones, I was feeling like I was coming home for Thanksgiving and they really wanted me to stick around for as long as was necessary. And I could leave at any time, but no one ever said it's time for you to go. Most of the other shows, there's this feeling of, well, we're going to have this new chef come in, new director that week. And we eat like this all the time, man. I'm glad you had a great time, but this is how we live that you don't have. You're not part of that. You know, I would get that dynamic of like, you're an invited guest, so you have to act accordingly. We work this way all the time. And some sets really thrived on that to the point where you did not feel very comfortable or welcome. You were just utilitarian. You just served a utility on the show and then get the hell out. Some were like welcoming you as if you were already a series regular. And we're so glad you had this experience with us. And we'd love for you to come back if it works out, like if somebody feels necessary. So that whole dynamic of the hierarchy, we call it in the Buddhism world, we call that the world of animality, you know, where you talk down to your gardener because he's a migrant and he makes less money and then you cower to your husband or your boss because they're more powerful than you. And so you feel that makes you, when you talk down to somebody, it makes you more powerful. The pecking order, which happens and has to happen when you're running some of these sets, but it doesn't have to happen in the way that it does happen, but it doesn't happen that way with Gemstones. It doesn't happen with Danny McBride and Rough House. So the experience of having this second family, it's coming home to Thanksgiving, man. And we check in with each other and we see each other. And, you know, there's exceptional people and Tim and Tony and Adam and Cassidy and Edie. They're just wonderful. And Danny, we have this kind of respect and reverence for each other because we all were part of this incredible experience. And it was hard to kind of take that we're not going to do this again. But there was also like, there's all these rumors about a Gemstone movie or one-offs, like a very Gemstone Christmas or the Gemstone Easter special. You know, it's like we're going to do an Easter telethon. There's little teases of potential or a Baby Billy spinoff of like, or Teen Just or Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers being a, you know, like these things could happen. Cassidy got to be Kelton's on-screen mom and Danny McBride got to be my son's on-screen dad. And I couldn't ask for a better situation. And John Goodman to be the grandfather and really very big influence on Kelton and mentorship. They had lots of conversations about the process and navigating their way through. And John, you know, had some really kind words to say to me about Kelton. And he said them right to Kelton. And Kelton was like, dude, you know, and then for Kelton to kind of grow up and be an Eric Andre fan. And then Eric Andre's on the show. It was like, I think of all the people, he was like, he goes, hey, what's up there, Ponch? He goes, oh, hey, hi, I'm Kelton. He's like, hey, man, I know who you are. Okay. And he walks through, he goes like Eric Andre knows who I am. Like, you know, like he watched all his Eric. So like to have that, you know, like we had a lot of those. But for me, I felt like I've learned a lot about how to be comfortable with being enough. I think before Gemstones, I really felt like I always had to kind of prove something to someone, prove my value, my worth, my contribution. And I think with season 1, when the intention of the Goon Squad was one episode, and they looked at what Troy does, and they looked at what Jay does, and they looked at what I do, and they looked at what Jody does individually, and then collectively, they're like, oh shit, we got to write for these guys. Like, this is what Danny needs a posse. And so I always felt that I was trying to self-promote and trying to exert myself and fit myself into places where I wasn't necessarily welcome or needed. And I don't feel that way anymore. And I think it comes out of that experience. And I think part of it too is being a journeyman actor and having done collectively over 180, if you add all those episodes up, it's like 180 films and TV shows. I've had to kind of insert myself into various different situations with some of the most powerful and talented and acknowledged people in my business and hold my own in scenes with the best of the best, you know? And I think I have a much greater sense of when I get to play the same character over 4 seasons and 20 episodes, which has not happened before, I get a chance to show what I can do, sort of. And also realize I'm part of the orchestra and my specific instrument supports other instruments, but I also have to go like, this is not the violin's time. You know what I mean? Like you're the timpani guy. It's like you only come in when you need to, but it's extremely important that you kind of get your thing right. So I think for me, that was the biggest kind of takeaway from that whole experience is a stronger sense of self. I think with movies like Deepwater Horizon, where I kind of built a beautiful arc of the character from being this arrogant asshole VP of BP, where he was told to take his tie off because they felt it was superstitious, like something was going to happen wrong on the Deepwater Horizon rig. One of the stupidest things what could ever possibly happen on that rig in the next 90 minutes, how arrogant that is. And for that guy at the end to be crying like the rig's on fire, like begging for his life and watching the rig in flames with the American flag, and he's sweating and he's like realizing, holy shit, you know what I mean? I'm part of one of the most famous tragedy. They will talk about this tragedy for decades. It's like I got a chance to have a character that has that kind of arc. And then the fun part for me with Chad is that sad, fucked up Chad to that badass Chad, which leads to the movie that we're going to talk about today. My character of Leon in Unit 234 is an extension of bad Chad, of badass Chad. Went from sad Chad to mad Chad to glad Chad to badass Chad. Like there's your Chad 4.0. And Leon is the next alliteration of that, which is he's the driver, don't have to say much. He's there, he's present. He has his presence known, but it's not overbearing, right? He's the bodyguard. Something goes down, he'll jump in front of a bullet. Just like I got in front of Danny, I'll do whatever is bidding. Ass kickers for Christ. And he's an enforcer. When shit needs to go down, I'm walking around. I got an AK-47 in the back of my, G-Wagon. I'm ready to go to war and battle any point in time. So that's the fun part about this next movie is like to kind of go from 4 seasons of Gemstones to playing a badass Leon was awesome. And I got to work with Don Johnson, which, doesn't suck. And Isabel Furman is a huge fan of Righteous Gemstones, and I'm a huge fan of the Orphan franchise. So that worked out great. And she's just an incredible person. And then Jack Houston was going to, I remember watching Boardwalk Empire and going like, who is this guy? He's fucking brilliant. And then I'm like, wow, he's part of the Houston legacy, iconic film family, John Houston and Angelica and his brother, cousin Danny. I'm like, it's just incredible. And then he was coming here to do Mayfair Witches. And so he was coming to New Orleans. And so, we had a great experience all the way through. We shot in Grand Cayman Island. I was there for 6 weeks. It's the first time I got COVID. I was stuck in a 5-star hotel overlooking the ocean with 24-hour room service and getting paid. So my recommendations, if that's the best way to get COVID, no one was crying for me that they sealed my room off with, government security and everything was monitored. But I'm like, this is my circumstance. Like, okay, I think I'm all right. And I was literally like 2 days of sweating and that was it. Then 5 days in, I was like, what if I never get out of this room? Like there's a couple of the people got COVID and they were there for like 2 weeks in one room. And I was like 5 days in, I was like, I just relax, man. I mean, I literally was like just freaking the hell out. Like, what if I don't get out of here for another 5 days? And it was like this on the 7th day, it was Easter. He is risen. He is risen. Like I was free. I tested negative or negative enough to go back to set. So yeah, man, I had a great experience. And 6 weeks, Grand Cayman Island, we shot mostly during the nighttime. Daytime was free to watch those incredible sunsets that take an hour. We couldn't shoot till it was really dark. So we started our work at night. Did some day shoots a little bit here. Then the days were free to go swimming with the stingrays and learning how to scuba. And it's an incredible, and it's a great thriller. Derek Steiner script, really tight cat and mouse game. Andy Tennant, not known for doing action thrillers. He will be after this. I'll tell you that. Sweet Home Alabama, damn good film. Hitch, really good film. This film, in terms of the tightness, not your typical trap and torture kind of thing. I mean, really build good character development, really solid director. He's showrunner for, and directs episodes of The Bookie. I mean, Andy's just fantastic. This was an incredible experience for me. And I'm so glad it's finally out. We did it 3 years ago to the day. I mean, literally my last day of shooting was like the first week in May 3 years ago. So the fact that we're going to have a VOD release today on Friday, May 9th, it opens in 5 theaters. So if you're in Atlanta, Detroit, Minneapolis, Orlando, and Los Angeles, which I'll be tonight. Tonight, I'm going to go see it on the big screen. I know we're open in LA for a whole week. I don't know about the other theaters, but it's on video demand, and we have a streaming deal that'll drop after that. So you want to go curl up with some popcorn, on your big screen? This is a good one.
So the name of the film is Unit 234. Do we also say The Lockup?
I think a lockup is what they used for the overseas.
Oh, okay. I'm going to word this very specifically.
Okay.
Oh, wait, look, hold on, pause. I just got a message from your buddy, Tony Cavallero, in real time. This has never happened before. I told him I was talking to you, and he said,
yeah,
kisses to him. So kisses to you from Keith.
Love that. I love you, Tony.
Okay, so I'm going to word this very specifically. What was it like to work with 80s TV star Don Johnson?
It was awesome. It was challenging. And that had nothing to do with him or anything else. And the reason was our first day of shooting, and I had lots of cool stories. We were connected. He had worked with Danny McBride. So I wanted to talk about those things. Our first day of shooting, unfortunately, it was the day that it was announced that Bruce Willis had the brain condition that he had. And I don't know if you know this, but he and Bruce are very, very close. And he was very instrumental in getting Bruce into the business. And that was our first day. So it's like, hey, I want to bond and connect with you. And you're like telling me all these incredible stories, some of which I knew. That was the challenging part of it. Don was also producing this, so I think there were times where he was actor on camera, but then really moving into producerial mode. It was a little more seamless when Danny was doing it because he's in scenes with you. So that was the challenge of it. It had nothing to do with anything else. My experience was really great. I also kind of knew my role in the movie, and it was really about quietly supporting and just being present without being overbearing. Which, again, as I said, coming off of Gemstones, I'm a little less for wanting of attention or wanting to feel like I need to justify and substantiate my place.
So one of the things that you do on every project that you work on, and I love this about you, is that you try to learn something. Is that what you learned working on the Gemstones for 20 episodes, is that you are enough?
Yeah.
I mean, besides all the cool things that you get to do with your son and all the great experiences.
But that's a big takeaway,
I'm sure.
And I think my son had a lot to do with that too. He's like, hey, Dad, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go that extra. You don't have to say that extra thing. Or why did you do that extra? Like, he made me cognizant of it. He's like, you don't have to prove that, or you don't have to add that. You're in the cast, even though he still fucks with me and goes, I mean, you're not a gemstone. You're a friend of a gemstone. I'm a gemstone. You are a buddy, not a blood relative of a gemstone. You're not part of the genealogy at all. You're a friend of. You're like an appendage, like an extra thing, but you're not a gemstone. That's what I love, that my kid's going to hold me accountable, for my ego.
I love that he busts your balls.
Oh, 100%. And I bust his back. And I said, oh, that's right. So you're the middle child, right? You're the one that they don't give a shit about. That's why you do all these things to get attention. Like, you have the cute little one, and then you have the one that's, he's everything. And who are you? Just a sad disappointment. I gave you the name of Pontius for a reason. You're a traitor punk. So yeah, like I used to have uncles that were all like Italian mafia guys. They busted my ass so much. I thought it made me a much better person. And I had a situation with my nephew one time where I busted his ass on something. I was like, he just couldn't recover. Like, he literally was going to learn to do kung fu just to kick my ass, because he fucking hated his uncle. Because I called him out, like, hey man, just because you stand in front of a Porsche doesn't mean you own it. I was like, he's like, what? I was like, dude, you're posing. It's like, just say I was posing. Like, it's my sister's car, whatever. But then I looked at it and I was like, what I said was wrong. I was not cognizant of how it would affect him. Can't believe I talked about that. But it's a pleasure that I get to do this. It's an honor to be able to step in the shoes of create, like, there's going to be, in my email box, there's going to be a human being that I'm going to have to create that day or for 24 to 48 hours, put it in my body, tell the story of what they want to tell, document, and send it off. That's my gig. That's a pretty fucking great job. It'd be great if I get paid for more of it.
Sure.
This gig I just booked, I've auditioned for the same casting office for 4 years. 33 auditions, 14 callbacks. 4 times I've been pinned where I'm the main choice and it didn't go my way, and unpinned. Or they check my availability to see if I'm available and I don't get the gig. And finally, we have a booking. So 4 years, 33 job interviews, 14 callbacks or second interviews, 4 times it's between you and somebody else, and finally broke through. It's not for everybody. By the way, that's just one of hundreds of casting offices. That's just one. And now what happens is very specific people are calling about very specific roles because it's like James DuMont can do that. Like my next film, it's like I got an offer, which I hadn't got an offer since pre-COVID.
Is that the Mel Gibson one?
Yeah, called Hunting Season. That was an offer where I've been recommended to the director. The producer threw my reel in front of him. And the first scene was like the sheriff in Blackbird, because it's supposed to be a good old boy kind of sheriff. And then it was like this racist kind of Boston banker. And then it was like this really kind of Chad, funny, jovial smartass. The director called up and was like, oh, I'd love to talk to James. And so I watched all my work. He called up and he's like, look, dude, there's 3 different actors that I always had in mind for this sheriff role, because they bring these 3 different elements to the character. This one really does well with this, and this one does well with that, and this one does well. He goes, but you're the actor that does well with all 3 of these things. He goes, that's why we're having a conversation, because I get 3 actors in one. And from what I heard from Gemstones, you guys do 3 camera setups and you knock out 5-10 pages. I was like, yeah, that's how we work. We work pretty fast. And he goes, I need that. It's an independent film. I got limited locations. I have limited time. We're going to drop ourselves in. You know, you have 11 scenes in this movie. You have paragraphs of dialogue, and I'm going to need somebody to come in and knock that out. And so for the first time ever, I was not as prepared as I really wanted to be. I really, really struggled. They were going to shoot and then go to lunch, but then they did lunch and we came back and I knocked it out. But it was just like, it was a lot.
Was this on hunting season?
Yeah.
Oh, you've already started.
I've already shot. We're done.
Oh, shit.
It's in post right now. We'll talk about it when it comes out.
Oh, fantastic.
But I got, 11 scenes opposite Mel Gibson, man. And that's just incredible. I like getting back to supporting leads in films. It's, my conversation with my new management is like, this is where the sweet spot we want to be in. You're supporting opposite Don Johnson, you're supporting opposite Mel Gibson, where you're not the character utility actor, that you are more of a presence with the main actors. Just like you were in Deepwater Horizon, just like you were in Spencer Confidential, just like were in Trumbo or The Banker. You come in and you're like, we need you to push this strong character dialogue and narrative, and we need your presence. We need it more than just 1 or 2 takes or 1 or 2 scenes.
Okay, you vaguely mentioned it a couple of times, and you don't have to give me any details that you don't want to, but why make the switch? Why are you now with Zero Gravity? After all these years, why switch management companies?
My manager, I love him like a brother. The business has drastically changed. The kind of resources it needs and the kind of boots on the ground to get the most of all the opportunities that are out there requires more than his current model. And also, there's this great joy that he's had in working with filmmakers, creating film festivals now and overseas, and financing and being a moderator at film festivals and things. I see the joy and the passion of that so much more than the day-to-day struggle and grind to carve out a career for myself and my son and other people. And it has nothing to do with lack of effort, because the work is there. I see it. It's just I needed something different. Kelton needed definitely something. I'm going into the 3rd act of my career, and my son's just beginning his career, if you really think about it. But he's beginning his career with, Logan recurring on Astronaut Wives Club, and now, 25 episodes of a series. Like his beginning, his entry point's pretty damn good. I just felt like I needed more of a support system and more of an infrastructure that kind of takes me to the next level of things, which is I have a feature that my son's attached to with 2 Emmy-winning, Golden Globe, Oscar-nominated actors, director that knows what they're doing. It's like, so that's the next thing I have is a project that we're going to work together producing, and another project after that. So I needed someone who could kind of also build a team. I think the hard part is the longer people have been, working in the business, it becomes a little bit harder to find who the next generation of team members are. My new manager is just a little bit older than Kelton, but very seasoned, very deliberate. And the kind of results that we're getting in the first 2 weeks is unlike we've ever seen before. This person didn't do anything wrong. It's just a matter of they have different priorities of their time, and I have different priorities of my time. There's different things that I want to do that I know was not possible under this current relationship.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for explaining that to me.
Yeah.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
One of the previous times you were on, you were trying to put together a project called That Guy. How's that coming?
Well, now that I'm not running around with Kelton or myself for 6 months out of the year, that's now given me a little bit more time to put more time into it. I actually have the drives that have the scene. I have a little G drive that has the scenes on them. I'm really focused on this one feature because I want to shoot it in 9 months.
Is it not That Guy? Is it something else?
No, this is something else. This is a project that I've worked with this writer before. There's just things I can't talk about it right now just because we're still in financing and the development stage. But it's a writer that I've worked with before. And I did this short film called The Confession that was a 1-act. And then I recently directed an off-Broadway play by the same writer.
At the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, so that's what I did the first quarter. It's just something I never did before, directing a full production. It was an incredible experience. And it also gave me a lot of confidence to use all the professorial skills that I kind of put to the side that I use for my business, in terms of on-camera workouts. My son always goes, you're a jack of all and a master of not one. So because I'm an adult with ADD, I can easily be distracted and pulled in various different directions, of which I'm trying to work on that. So I'm focused on that one project right now exclusively. And with the other one, already another one backed up behind that in a year's time. I'm going to get back to That Guy, but I'm also going to dust off another piece that I wrote when my firstborn was born.
The one-man show about being a DJ?
One-man show of my life as a DJ. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where to start, but I got to stay focused on finishing one. That was the thing I really got the most out of the play was I finished it to its completion. You know what I mean? I put in all that I possibly could put into the piece. I gave all of myself, and I had to take a break and go just before tech rehearsal. I literally got on a plane at 9 a.m, flew to LA, rented a car, crashed at a friend's place, hit the red carpet at 6, was at the cocktail reception with the cast at 7. They did a screening of 2 episodes to 8. 9 o'clock, they started their panel discussion with the Academy. I jumped back in my rent-a-car. I went to the airport. I sat in the lounge and had dinner. I got the red-eye flight out of LA, flew back into JFK that I had been 24 hours previous at 9 a.m, took a nap in the afternoon, had a 2 o'clock tech rehearsal of the entire show, did a 6 o'clock performance. By 8, 9 o'clock, I was still wired, had a few drinks, and then I finally went to sleep. But the point of that is finishing something to its completion is something that I've always had problems. In fact, I left my house in New Orleans and I have an entire wall filled with immense possibility, but I'm not there. But I don't have the war room thing. It's not there. I'm not there. I'm on the road for the next, 2 months or a month and a half. So point being is that I think it's about finishing things and also then starting to dust off other projects that excite me. My life as a DJ is a theater piece, although a friend of mine read it and was like, wow, you should probably not play yourself. You should have your son play a younger version and you should play your dad. And then it becomes not a one-man show, but a two-hander. It's what they say in the theater, a two-hander, 2 characters. That was like, woo! The hard part with That Guy is I have great scenes of all my kids when they're much younger. And now they're all in their 20s because I let all this time go by. I have a few of them up on Instagram, but I may create like a little like TikTok or Instagram, like just up there and just see if people... My wife is like, just put them up there and just see if it gets some sort of traction. I remember pitching it to one of my friends who had worked with Ray Romano and helped him get Everybody Loves Raymond off the ground. He's a stand-up and a great writer named Mike Royce. I did 4 episodes, I think, or maybe more, some of Men of a Certain Age with him and Scott Bakula and Andre Brower. I mean, like, what a great fucking show. I mean, like, incredible.
That was a good show.
So I sent him the script and he's like, nobody's going to watch this. I was like, what do you mean nobody's going to watch it? He goes, you're not famous. I go, that's the whole fucking point of it. It's like, well, with Larry David's famous for being the writer of Seinfeld. So he's famous for something. That's why we watch. Louis, stand-up comedian, slice of his life outside of being a comedian. That's why we watch. A out of the work, struggling character actor that is in all these things, but nobody recognizes him. Why would we watch? And I was just like, that shit's harsh, man. I said, because that's the fucking funny part of it is between somebody and nobody is that guy. And how does one navigate themselves of like working toe to toe on equal terms with Oscar winning actors and the next day having to read for juror number 4? Do you know what I mean? How do you keep your dignity? Being on the red carpet of a movie, like I just have the whole big thing with my publicist, being on the red carpet of a movie and being ignored by the skanks from Orange County. You know what I mean? Like Eric Estrada showed up. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm in this movie. Eric Estrada has like Mexican soap operas and chips. Like, why are you ignoring me? And there's also something really, as I learned from Gemstones, my main guy and that guy is a total narcissist. I mean, I find myself a healthy narcissist or really have a healthy ego because there's dark things about narcissism. But in order to fucking survive this business, you have to have a resilient sense of self. I remember when 2008 happened and like middle-aged men were freaking the hell out because they were unemployed. They couldn't provide for their family and they didn't know who they are as men. They went to school, they went to the frats, they got their law degree, they went to thing. Then they couldn't find a job or they've been working for this company for 20 years and they're like, we're going to get somebody younger and pay them half and there's no pension and health. Fuck off. So how does one have a sense of manhood and place and identity when you're unemployed? I'm unemployed 90% of the time. I put in a regular hour's work. I got up at 7 o'clock this morning. I got 5 hours sleep last night, 4 hours the night before. Like I usually sleep 6 hours and it's an 18-hour day. And I got to figure out my day. But I do. There's nothing I don't do that's towards something that either I'm teaching or coaching or I'm reading material or I'm auditioning. As my Mick Chickaholic would call, I'm in flow, baby. I'm in flow. I think it is interesting and fascinating what it's like to be known and unknown all at the same time. And like every good artist, you know, Rick Rubin will be like, yeah, man, do what you want to do. If there's an audience for it, they'll find you. You don't have to coddle to them. And also him coming off of like, I did a successful show, Raymond. I did a show that people want to watch. I was like, well, it's easy for you to say. I think there is something very funny about and sad and insightful about being like, that's what Extras was. Like, that's why I think Ricky Gervais like fucking killed it because he's like, they build up this false sense of themselves, but they have a sense of themselves. You know what I mean? Like some dignity and sadness to it all at the same time. And these scenes that I have, these therapist scenes are just, I mean, I'm bawling my fucking eyes out because I realized that at a certain point I was like gaining weight. My kids were like not finishing their food. And I was like, oh, I came from, you got to finish your plate. So I'm eating the food for them and I'm getting fatter and I'm becoming less attractive. So I won't cheat and become like my dad. And I had this like therapy session where I'm killing myself so I don't become my father. And it's deep and I'm bawling. But it's funny as fuck, you know what I mean? Because it's just black comedy, you know, because you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like, I don't know. I got to get back to it. It's just, again, bro, 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep. Tomorrow I'll get back on my 6 routine. You know, there's only so many hours in the day. I'm trying to keep healthy just so I can do all of the things. My wife's like, if you die tomorrow, you're going to be pissed off because there's so many things that you want to do. And I'm realizing fame and accomplishments, none of these things are as valuable as time. I'm just starting to figure out how fucking valuable time is. That time is the greatest commodity. The gig now is, you know, I even said it to my 85-year-old mom. I'm like, how long you want to live? Healthy body. Your full-time job is to go to the doctor and the dentist. And like right now, she's retired, but her full-time job is literally every day there's something physical health. This is going to be your life for the next 15 years. So like, what do you want it to be? And so for me, I go, okay, I'm on the cusp. Like, I hate to say it because like no one believes it, but I'm like, I'm about to be 60 years old. Every time my students all think I'm like mid 40s because I got lots of energy and I go. I see people that are 60 or older. It's like, now that's 60. Like, I'm not that. I'm about to be 60. So I go like, well, what's the next 20 years going to look like? What kind of food do I need? What kind of fuel do I need to put in my body? What kind of exercise do I need to do? What kind of mindset do I need to have? What kind of representation? What kind of people do I want to take me to this next level?
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
We did everything we possibly could together. Like, I loved it. We ran on a fucking tear. Like, when I was at the peak of it, and I know what that rarefied air is because I've seen it, to work so hard in February of 2020 to be invited to Vanity Fair and not be someone else's plus one or someone else thinking I'm Ed Asner, not knowing that Asner is in his 80s. Like, come on in, Mr. Asner. I'm like, okay, great. Another fat ball guy. The apex of February and March of 2020 was like, I walk into Vanity Fair and the first person I see is Peter Berg greeting me, introducing to all the young agents at William Morris. This is the most amazing actor. He's going to be in all my movies. Then I walk over and I see my friend Sarah Paulson, who, then I have conversations with Brad Pitt about, New Orleans while he's holding the Oscar, and I go, I'm in the room. You know what I mean? I'm an invited guest. I've been kicked out of this place. I've been able to never get in here. I've been turned away at the door many times. But this year I'm an invited guest. And I'm not flying myself to go do the job and renting a car and a hotel to work local hire in an area in order to get a job over somebody, a famous person that's not available and they can't afford. Netflix is flying me to LA and they're putting me in a hotel and they're sending a car for me. And then from here, they're going to fly me to Memphis and Apple's going to pick me up for the banker and then somebody's going to walk me down the carpet. And I'm going, all these things that I did on my own dime for decades is now being handled and taken care of. And I was with the APA, this big agency that now merged with another agency. And it was like, all the young agents were there and they're like, oh my God, you're going to get so much work off of this. And it's like, boom, COVID hits. And I always said, I never want to be that person like, oh, everything was great until COVID hit. I was like, well, let me tell you something. Where my career had built to up to that point was just astonishing, to the point where my incredible manager of 30 years said, here I come out of Spencer Confidential and I'm wearing the red tracksuit that I had, I came out and I'm surrounded by like hundreds of people that all want to get a selfie and sign stuff. And my manager's off in the corner. My sister's with it. My sister had never been to a premiere with me. And she was just like, this is incredible. And I learned to look over my manager. My manager's like, he goes, lean into it. You're a 30-year overnight sensation. And he was right. We did it. We built it. We got it to as far as we possibly could go. When you see those things, right now it's the commodity of time. And I really had to think about who could I put on this team to make the most of the time that I'm here to do the kind of projects that I really want to do, that this is their full-time 100% job along with other clients. But this is the only thing that they do. They don't have other interests or passions other than this. I mean, Kendall Kramer at Zero Gravity is an amazing, amazing manager. Amazing. And has me working. I got homework. I got to cut reels. I got to do Kelton's stuff is not like, I got work to do. Like, she's putting me to work. It's a 90-10 split. So I got to do 90% of the work and I'm doing it. So it's really great. I feel empowered. I feel excited, checking in on my health. I dropped 22 pounds, just doing everything I can to try to tell as many stories as I possibly can. And then I'll get the series. I get to do the series, which is great. So I can't talk about it now, but we'll come back. And once I kind of get to the first episode, we'll go from there.
I love it. This is a busy man, ladies and gentlemen.
I tell everybody, I say that this is for any actor who's listening. Your job is to create this human being in the most truthful, grounded, authentic way and bring yourself to the self-tape, period. The other thing is, once you've done the audition and documented and sent it off, your job is done until you get to, like, I did my job for this thing. And now I get to go there and they give me a costume and they put, they're going to makeup and I'm going to get in front and I'm actually going to get to, but the truth is, I already did this. I already played this character. I'm already done. I'm in the acting business. I'm not in the selection business, the curation business, which is what these incredible casting directors are, who are artists and finally are getting acknowledged by the Academy. To curate that gallery and put all these artists in this one particular exhibition, that is art. That is like, same thing with the director, the right actors. Casting is everything. The play that I did, my cast was incredible. Couldn't cast any better. It made my job so much easier. So what I realize is that once I submit, send and off, it's Etch-a-Sketch, new one, or ripping up. Remember the thing where you do the thing with like a little pen and then you rip the thing up and it disappears. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I'm going to kind of not lose hair, whatever gray is. I have to just move on to the next thing.
Well, I do want to mention that you do on-camera workouts. It's actually oncameraworkouts.com and on-camera workouts on Instagram. And for 15 years, you personally have been self-taping and getting roles based off of those. And for 10 plus years, you've been helping other students do that. You have over 2,000 students worldwide.
2,500.
Oh, it's 2,500. Well, that is over 2,000. Like
I know. Who's counting? It's another 500 people. Whatever. Good.
Yeah, plus or minus 500. Meh.
The good news is they don't all come in at once.
Oh, thank Christ.
And I've automated my process. So, yes.
Oh, good. So with these students, you have a specific focus on how to do on-camera auditions and self-tapes. How do you feel like all of that experience has helped you in this post-COVID, mostly self-tape industry?
Well, the good news is I was doing it before COVID. And even when I was starting to self-tape 15 years ago, there were people that had been self-taping before that, meaning famous people that didn't want to go in an audition and they didn't want to take time out of their day to sit down with that director to see if they wanted to have to prove themselves. So they're like, send me the material, let me put something down, and then I'll send it off. Like that. This is what famous people were doing before I was doing it. I find it's been a great, great equalizer. It allows so many more people to have opportunities all over the world. What used to happen is you had to live in New York. You had to live in Los Angeles. Both of those places are extremely cost prohibitive to live and survive. And most of the time you go to those places and you do 3 jobs in order to just be able to pay half of your rent for that month. So you're spending less time doing the very thing that you came there to do, your dream, right? Which I think all survival jobs are, my coaching and my teaching, that is considered a survival job in a way for me as well. During COVID, I just happened to be the guy that booked $1 million worth of work off of self-tapes. So I felt like I was the guy that had water in the desert, because when COVID hit and everybody went indoors, I was working 18, 20-hour days. I had classes 7 days a week. I had way too many people in class. And now it's like 6 people in one class, 2 hours. 15 people in this class, 3 hours. Live workouts tomorrow. I got a live workout tomorrow, 8 people. It's like 8 people on camera, as many people can watch. And so there's now an art form to this. Like one of my dear friends does like kind of cinematic self-tapes and has had really good results. And part of a recent audition that I did, I start to adapt those things without making it distracting. It should look professional. There should be the key light that's in your eyes, a fill light, and a backlight that hits here. Like there's a little backlight on my ball pate. They should be able to see you and hear you. The other thing is, on that page are visual nouns. You're talking about a person, place, thing, or event. Film and television is a visual medium. So are you going to just talk about it, or are you going to see it before you say it? I could say to you, it's like, hey, Steve, Joe was the craziest dude in our high school. He was insane. He used to run around. He made a mistake one time. He was going to streak, but he put his football helmet on and it had his number on, so we all knew it was him. So I just told you that story. It's like, man, do you remember in high school, that guy, Joe, is one time he was streaking down the thing. He was an idiot because he had his helmet on, but he didn't realize that he had his number on there. And we all know who he was. So I just told you about him, or I also created him. And I find that's the big difference between good and great. From a good self-tape of an actor that can be truthful, grounded, believable, and authentic. It's a given now. People were given a lot of leeway with the technical aspects of it during COVID. Now you have a ring light. You're like, that's very 2020. Like, oh, I still have a ring light? Really? I could see this demonic reflection in my eyes. I'll tell you right now, it's distracting, and you're definitely going to book less work. So if you still have a ring light, get a tripod, get a key light, and move on. But the other thing is, can you take these words on a page and visually bring them to life within the frame? And the reality is the director has to do the exact same thing. They have to take words that are on the page and visually fit it in the frame, not out of the frame, not acting over here, not up in this, right here, everything on the fourth wall. So for me, I've found this childlike curiosity and excitement and enthusiasm that each self-tape is an opportunity to create a one-person movie of this character, because you're only seeing the story from my point of view in my eyes, what I see, what I look at, where everything is. So I know that there was a lot of pushback for people that did very well in the room, meaning they were very charming and people liked them and got work. They weren't that talented or crafted, but they were likable enough that they wanted to put them in the movie. And some people go, I book more in the room than I do. And so like, there's that whole thing. And when we get back to the room, it's like, we're not getting back to that. Because one of the biggest things that COVID taught everybody was, for example, I lived in LA. I moved to New Orleans. I got a call back in the room at Paramount Studios for CSI or NCIS. And I had to fly from New Orleans to LA, rent a car, stay at my sister's house, drive to Paramount Studios, Melrose in the middle of WeHo, drive back to Santa Monica, go to the airport. I had to fly. But when I did that, there were 10 other actors or 15 other actors who were reading for that role. So that put 15 cars on the road. And then there were 30 people in the room that were from all over Orange County. So you had another 30 cars that were on the road for everybody to be in the room for 2 hours to make a decision, right? So just look at the environmental impact and then look at the economic impact of that. So now you don't have to put 30 cars on the road of all the people in the room or another 15 for the actors. The car, the time away from family, the gas, the traffic, all of it. The physical office, we're not going to get back. I think we're going to get to the point where callbacks may be in person or virtual, where you get to talk and meet with this person to have that interaction, because I think that's important. But it's changed now. So what's interesting is I felt like, my great uncle, like you're a pioneer. Like, hey, I got this thing called television. It's better than radio. You get to see this image. It's in the little thing here. So I feel like a pioneer in a way of self-tapes. And I'm passing on all the fucking mistakes that I made, like the thousands of auditions I lost or I wasn't chosen or selected, not rejected. The thousands of auditions that I was not selected for that got me hundreds. And when I say it's very conservative to say $1 million, it's like I self-taped for Deepwater Horizon. That was one. I self-taped Righteous Gemstones, which led to 20 episodes. So do you see how that one self-tape, Kelton self-tape for Righteous Gemstones? So one self-tape leads to work. And I mean residuals as time goes by ad nauseum. So that number is extremely conservative. But now I look at it as I'm an artist. This canvas is blank. I can paint whatever pictures I want based on the colors and the brushes that you give me. I just have to fit it in the frame, bring myself to it, and then send it off and then be on to the next one. And then etch a sketch and the next. So I look at them as small pieces of art, mini movies. In fact, I'm going to take this one audition that I did, this one section of it, the last part of it, that sums up the entire relationship between father and son saying goodbye at college. And I'm going to post it up because I put music under because I'm a DJ. And I was like, what's the song that's like most poignant about saying goodbye to your son and accepting you got to let the person. Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon. Little boy blue and the man, when you're coming home, son, I don't know when. We'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then. I put that on I don't care if I get the movie. You know what I mean? You gave me the audition. You're giving me the job. You're saying, what is James DuMont going to do? And this is what I did. So whatever the result, I'm trying to stay away from the results and the outcomes because that's where I feel does a lot of people in. If I don't get this, it means I did something wrong or rejected. It's like, no, just weren't selected. But you have to make enough of an impression. Perfect example of what I said earlier. 4 years with this one office, 33 auditions, 33 impressions, another 14 times coming back, another 4 times coming real close to finally break through. So I look at each of these things as an incredible opportunity. And the way the competitive world of self-taping is either you take that opportunity and exploit it or somebody else will.
What wonderful words to go out on. James DuMont, thank you so much for taking time yet again to come back for a 4th time on Fascination Street Podcast. Once again, everybody, the new movie is called Unit 234. It stars the great James DuMont. Also, Isabel Furman, Don Johnson, Jack Houston, so many others. Go check it out. It's available on
Video on demand.
VOD everywhere. And don't forget to check out OnCameraWorkouts.com and on Instagram and learn how to be a pimp with self-tapes.
Appreciate it.
Dude, thank you so much. Seriously.
Welcome,
and
dude.
enjoy seeing your face tonight on the big screen.
I know. I'm excited. I got a nap to build up in this. It's all good. Thank you, brother. We'll see you soon.
You have a great rest of your week, man.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Bye.
Peace. Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Ven. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.